Dear friends, today we talk about the virtue of tenacity. Um, it's like the fruit of all these virtues we have considered related to fortitude. Someone who is tenacious is someone who holds fast and stays and overcomes extreme difficulties, persevering with patience and perseverance. Is someone who is tough, tenacious. Tenax in Latin comes from grasping something and keeping your hand in this rock, keeping your hand in this place. So tenacity is this extreme persistence, relentless, enduring. We have this other beautiful word that is grit. Grit that is like passion and sustained persistence applied toward long-term achievements with no special concern for rewards, recognitions along the way. And it's this combination of resilience, uh, self-control, discipline, pursuing this goal. It may take months, it may take years, decades. Tenacity is also related to something called tenaciousness, that is a property of materials in the materials science. They talk about tenaciousness in metallurgy, the metals and the materials. Something is tough or tenacious when it can absorb energy and be plastically deformed without fracturing. So it's tenacious because it's very strong, but at the same time flexible and resist to be hit, right? And is still there. Tenacious is the person that is able to achieve the goal as a fruit of all these virtues of magnanimity, magnificence, and then patience, perseverance, longanimity. So in a sense, tenacity is the fruit of all these allies. So it's like a heroic pursuit of something really valuable. Virtues related to tenacity are discipline, concentration, the virtue of studiousness, studiosity, um, the ability of being focused, that is part of temperance, and then of course all the other little virtues of fortitude we saw. It's not just about being optimistic, I will do it, I will be able to do it, or not just about strong will, right, or stubbornness. Those are vices of tenacity. Tenacity is possible because of a great hope. In our case, because the Lord is at my side, I will find the way because He's helping me to um, do this, to finish this project, to convince my friend to come back to the church. This tenacity that it's amazing. Let's put an example in the second letter to Saint Timothy. Saint Paul exhorts Timothy, I charge you in the presence of God and of Jesus Christ. And he says, Christ will judge the living and the dead when he will come in glory. And I charge you, and he says, proclaim the word, be persistent, whether it is convenient or inconvenient, convince, reprimand, encourage through all patience and teaching. This is the tenacity. And later he says, put up with hardship, perform the work of an evangelist, fulfill your ministry. So the vices opposed to tenacity, we saw they're related to perseverance because they are similar virtues. There is giving up, just it's impossible, despair, but also the stubbornness or the trusting in my own will. I will do it because I am strong. Tenacity, we have said, comes from a great hope. We have been loved with such an amazing love that now we can answer, and this love generates a generous action that will overcome defeats and challenges. Other vices against tenacity are curiosity, the bad curiosity, that's curiositas, against studiositas, against studiousness, Then distraction, dissipation. For example, internet can be a great enemy in our tenacity because it dissipates, it creates like brings smoke, right? Like a screen. We cannot see, we cannot remember what we were doing. So something important, just a few examples and criteria. Tenacity is not about never falling, never making mistakes, but it's about being always ready to start again. This Latin expression, nunc coepi. Now I begin. I failed 20 times. I have tried all these ways to overcome this vice, to overcome this difficulty, to bring back, my brother who is really angry with me, and I have tried, this, and tenacity makes me say, I start again. And again, it's a great love, a strong love that is in our hearts, and at the same time, docility to the Holy Spirit. It's not about being stubborn. It's not about my energies. How is this manifested in the little things? Sometimes it takes tenacity to finish a book, one of those big books, like Crime and Punishment, Christine Lavran's daughter, amazing books that are like bricks, and it requires a lot of tenacity, but at the end there is a reward which endures. And sometimes it takes suffering, and it takes time of sleep to finish the book. An amazing example of tenacity we find in the saints and in great scientists, in great heroes. One beautiful example is an Italian firefighter, Mario Trematore. It was 1997, April. A fire broke out in Turin, in the cathedral where the Holy Shroud is kept, so the burial cloth of Jesus Christ, the witness of his passion and resurrection. And there were these flames raging from the dome, so the whole dome was in flames, and the Holy Shroud was underneath in a reliquary protected by a thick bulletproof glass. And this man, they were all trying to with the water, but it's impossible. It's going to fall in a matter of minutes and maybe less. So he grabbed this large sledgehammer and began striking the bulletproof glass. And this bulletproof glass can stop bullets, but it cannot stop the strength of virtue represented by the Holy Shroud of Jesus. That's what he said afterwards. So he hit, imagine this strong firefighter hitting with all his passion this bulletproof glass 78 times with all his energy, and he broke the bulletproof glass and saved the Holy Shroud. A few minutes later, everything collapsed. But the Holy Shroud was saved because of the tenacity of this man, the great love for Christ and for the Holy Shroud. An example of fortitude, because it was danger of death. Patience, because it was so hot with the fire, the temptation to abandon. Perseverance, prolonged effort, but the tenacity. That say, with the grace of the Lord, I can do it. I finish. We could give a lot of examples of tenacity, and hopefully we'll have another opportunities. Thomas Edison, Beethoven, Pasteur, of course, so many saints. Let me finish with a couple of images of the tenacity of God with us. That's what can make us tenacious and have this holy grit. Is the tenacity of God with us. He never abandons us, even if we say no. We have two texts that are very beautiful from the Old Testament, from the prophets. One is Isaiah 5, and the other is Hosea 11. The prophet Isaiah in chapter 5 tells the song of the vineyard, and is God speaking to Israel. I'm going to tell you a story. There was this man, this friend of mine, who had a vineyard on a fertile hillside, and he spaded it, he cleared it of stones, he planted the best wines, he built a watchtower, he took care of everything, and this vineyard gave nothing. And what more could be done for my vineyard that I did not do? And then Hosea 11 is another example of this tenacity of God with us. When Israel was a child, I loved him. Out of Egypt I called my son. And then the more I called them, the farther they went from me, sacrificing to the Baals, to the idols, burning incense. But I will never abandon him. How could I forget Ephraim? I will not destroy Ephraim, for I am God. I am tenacious. Okay, that's not in the text, but it's the tenacity of God.